Yet again so right when we were beginning to imagine that the Shanquella Robinson case planned to be an impasse, some wild proof as of late became visible that blew the whole case open and showed us exactly how fiendish the Cabo Six are and the way in which they treated Shanquella. Likewise her family as of late stood up and uncovered who truly killed Shanquella, and you all won't completely accept that who the killer is and the way in which they attempted to lie and control Shanquella's family with her baggage. What did they tell you happened to your little girl? That she became ill from drinking. It was alcoholic. So it has nearly been around 5 months since Shanquilla Robinson unfortunately died while on vacation with companions in Cabo, Mexico, and for some time there were contemplations that the Cabo Six very well could pull off. For a really long time the specialists would not specify who specifically killed Shanquella, guaranteeing that the examination was all the while continuous and could be compromised, assuming that they uncovered excessively. Yet presently we at last realize who truly killed her. Now Shanquella's passing turned into a virtual entertainment sensation because of how wrecked it was. She traveled to Cabo and after 24 hours she was dead. Now at first her companions attempted to guarantee that her demise was from liquor harming, and this is everything they said to Shanquella's family. So when they were the point at which they returned from the excursion with her gear, what did they tell you happened to your girl? Then she became ill from drinking. It was liquor. No doubt she became ill from drinking. It was liquor, and that is exactly the same thing they let the specialists know that previously treated Shanquella at the manner they were remaining. See that Shanquella could in any case be alive on the off chance that they had confessed all to the specialists and let them know what truly happened. A police report from the day she kicked the bucket expresses visitors at the hotel called for clinical assistance, asserting she had tanked a ton of liquor. A specialist said she was statement stable yet got dried out, adding that the visitors wouldn't carry her to a clinic. The police report said she went into heart failure and was pronounced dead at 6 p.m. However, at that point the dissection report recorded her reason for death as serious spinal rope injury in Atlanta pivotal subluxation, which is a condition where unsteady or unreasonable development is available in the initial 2 vertebrae of the neck, and it recommended that Shanquella had been the of an actual. Curiously, the postmortem made no notice of liquor in her framework, and individuals have referenced that in the event that she had for sure taken sufficient liquor to get liquor harming, it ought to have appeared on the examination. However, at that point things began to warm up when a video that showed Shanquella getting thumped up by one of her purported companions became a web sensation. In via virtual entertainment she was getting pulsated by a lady named Dejanay Jackson and, surprisingly, however, others in the companion bunch were available. They never really helped Shanquella or stopped Dejanay, and at one point her alleged dearest companion Khalil Cook derided her and said, "Quia, can you basically retaliate?" Despite the fact that it was accepted that the pulsating she got from Dejanay was conceivably the one that killed Shanquella, specialists declined to formally name her as the rather, saying that the Cabo Six were people of revenue in the examination. Mexico additionally managed the case to be a femicide and mentioned that removal of the gathering so they could confront the law in Mexico. Mexican specialists put out an announcement saying this case is completely explained. We even have a court request. There is a capture warrant gave for the wrongdoing of femicide to disservice of the person in question and against a supposed culprit, a companion of her who is the chief. Truly wasn't a fight yet, rather an immediate understanding. We are doing every one of the relevant systems. For example, the Interpol ready and the solicitation for removal to the U.S. of America. It's around 2 Americans and the guilty party. Even with this, the U.S. government appeared to be dawdling, working on it, demanding that the examination had not been closed at this point. Well, it seems as though Shanquella's folks have had enough of this, and they had their legal counselors send a letter to the White House requesting answers and imploring them to discover some arrangement. The fascinating thing about the letter is that the family at long last uncovered who it was that the Mexican specialists had a warrant out for itself, and shock, they named Dejanay as the assailant who Shanquella. The letter said the viral video showing Shanquella being beaten in the manner while kid by one of the 6 travel mates, who was distinguished by the Observer as Dejanay Jackson. A postmortem examination report ready on October 30, 2022 in Mexico by clinical analyst Dr. Rene at Alberto Galavon at Sagura noticed that Shanquella's body had a head injury and presumed that she reason for death was a wrecked neck. The last option went on because of the examination. A warrant was given for Dejanay Jackson by Mexican policing of the 6 travel mates rights who escaped the U.S. after Shanquella was articulated that Miss Jackson was recognized as the culprit of femicide against Shanquella Robinson, a murder in light of orientation, in the event that a U.S. resident perpetrates manslaughter in Mexico and gets once again to the U.S. As you knew, they can have to deal with criminal penalties in the U.S. under bureaucratic regulation or state regulation relying upon the conditions of the wrongdoing. So from this letter we can see that her family is weary of not having equity mixed for their little girl. The last part was then essentially telling the U.S. government that on the off chance that you won't send them over to Mexico to confront equity around there, basically have them face equity here in America. And it's simply so miserable on the grounds that no parent ought to at any point need to go through the frightfulness of losing their girl as well as engaging in a long battle for equity. Yet that is by all accounts not the only thing contained in a letter, since it likewise incorporated a few new disclosures that show how horrendous the Kabul Six were by an observer. Explanation given to the family's legal counselors by an attendant in the estate where the gathering remained. Shanquella never truly fit in the gathering. All along, the attendant said she appeared to not find a place with the others. When I presented myself, she didn't welcome me or grin. She was detached, nothing to do with the air of festivity. She was awkward at the party. This sort of proposes that the gathering was threatening towards Shanquella all along, yet that is as yet not the most exceedingly terrible piece of it, since even after Shanquella was articulated dead, the gathering actually felt no kind of regret or even grief. The attendant uncovered that after she was articulated that he went up to the estate to give his sympathies to the gathering. He said, I left that region and remained external, the fundamental access to give them space to mourning despondency. Minutes after the fact I heard chuckling. That is not all, on the grounds that as per reports hours after the fact Jackson messaged the attendant about supper and he organized a ride for the gathering to San Jose. Yet he figured out later that the gathering went to the air terminal some other time. When the video was delivered of Jackson going after her, the attendant said he understood that basically Jackson had controlled him with an end goal to leave the country straight away. So when they understood that they had killed Shanquella, they didn't genuinely regret it, rather taking off from Mexico to the U.S. with the expectation that they would try not to confront ramifications for their activities once they arrived at the U.S. since they didn't believe that the case would explode as it did. This simply shows the amount they couldn't have cared less about Shanquella, and it makes sense of why many individuals feel like the entire situation could have been planned. Somebody remarked, this is disastrous and over the top. The specialists realize who was there. They have a video broiler, not a battle, and the wounds a fair consequence should be given. Everybody required, from the help to the other people who held on and afterward concealed what happened, should be captured, charged and imprisoned. Someone else said, I can't completely accept that this is as yet going on. I can't really accept that not one individual has been considered liable for this. Okay, quiet Willa, this is so deplorable. And this other individual added, I have been following this story since the very first moment and I don't see the reason why Dejeuner has not been arraigned. She's in the video plainly thoroughly demolishing Shanquella. What more do they need? It's truly miserable that Shanquella's family has needed to stand by this long to get equity, yet ideally, since it has become so undeniably obvious who did it, things will move much quicker and they can at last get the equity fenced in area they need to completely recuperate. However, while you're here, you really want to look at this next video.